It's Wednesday, the 13th of June 2018, and welcome to Navigating Your Day. In Jin Shin Jyutsu, safety energy lock number 13 came into the universe, meaning love thy enemies. And safety energy lock number 13 is located here in the middle of the chest, on either side of the center of the breastbone, right on either side of the heart chakra. So that's probably why it means love thy enemies, right? And so my understanding of the love thy enemies is it starts with ourselves. Your biggest enemy is usually you. The person you speak to the worst is usually you. The person you punish the most is usually yourself. So when you can connect to this energy of safety energy lock number 13, you open your heart chakra, and you don't just open it outwardly towards others, you open it inwardly towards yourself. If you've been listening since the beginning of the week, you'll remember that safety energy lock number 11 was here, and it was about judgment and getting rid of excess garbage. And the judgment was that things are only ever one-sided. In other words, there are more benefits than drawbacks to the situation, or there are more drawbacks than benefits. Or this situation has caused me more pain than pleasure, or another situation has caused me more pleasure than pain. When in actuality, both of those are there equally all the time. But we need to train ourselves to look for it. The next day, which was safety energy lock number 12, Tuesday, was about thy will be done. So when we understand that this duality in the universe exists, and that you can't have challenge without support, and that you can't have support without challenge, and that pain and pleasure come together always equally, then there is no need for judgment. And in fact, there's no need for man-made justice, because it's already built in. It's built into this grand organized design that we live in. And when we can appreciate that, it becomes easier for us to align our will with divine will, and then we can actually navigate our lives more smoothly, because that safety energy lock number 12 is about expanding, it's about dancing, it's about moving with life. And then we get to 13, which is today. And 13 is love thy enemies. So really, it's only once we can connect to the fact that pain and pleasure are always equal, when we align our will with divine will, because we actually go, that's a universal law. That's a universal law. This is a dualistic universe, and that everything is neutral until someone judges it. When we get that, then our will automatically becomes aligned with divine will, because now we are living according to a universal law. And when we do that, then we are able to see how we fit into the big picture, which is safety energy lock number 13, and then we can connect to love thy enemy and fertility. 13 has also got to do with fertility. It's got to do with creativity, with productivity. That's when we can actually start loving ourselves, and when we can appreciate that we are perfect as we are, that's when we can start becoming, we can tap into our fertility and our creativity, and that's when we can carry our gifts into the world. So that is the gift that safety energy lock number 13 gives us today. 13 is a 4. 4 is about seeing the big picture. 4 is about appreciating that everything is balanced, is neutral, just as it is. It doesn't mean there's no pain for you. It doesn't mean you don't have emotions around it, because you're human, right? We're living in a 3-dimensional reality here. But it does mean that you can appreciate in the big picture things like this too shall pass, right? Nothing stays forever. Nothing is permanent. Even the pain will eventually start easing. And the more you can see how you are benefiting from the situation, the quicker you will be able to shift that. And the more you are able to love yourself, the more you are able to connect the wellspring of fertility that exists within you, the more you can actually bring your gifts to the world, and that's how you then show your love to the rest of humanity or the world at large. 13, as I said, is a 4. 4 is an earth number, so we have that grounding earth energy. It's about breaking boundaries. It's about looking beyond the boundaries that we have imposed on ourselves. We've, of course, got the 6 from June. 6 is about balance and discrimination. It's about harmony. It's about trying to keep all sides inclusive. It's about inclusivity. It's about discriminating what is good for us. And it's a fire number. It's about creativity. It's about how do we take this fertility that we've accessed and turn it into something beautiful that we can present to the world. Of course, we've got the 2 from 2018, which is a water number, and that 2 helps us to maintain connection, a deep connection to how we feel, because your emotions are a barometer of how your perceptions are aligned or not. So when you're feeling awful, it's because you can't appreciate the benefits, and when you're feeling amazing, it's because because you can't appreciate the drawbacks. So the emotions are constantly feeding back to us. And when we try and suppress our emotions, or when we deny our emotions, or when we don't allow ourselves to feel our emotions, then we actually shut off a very important feedback mechanism that is there. It's designed in order to help us expand into the most magnificent version of ourselves. The hero today is I can't remember, let me have a look. The hero today is a 3. And 3 in the hero position, it's a fire number. It's about expansion. It's about creativity. It really helps us to connect to our creativity. It's about setting goals that serve us. It's also about inclusivity. It's about expanding into the realms that we consider to be esoteric, outside of our conventional knowledge, and including others in that. So 3 in the hero position really helps us to expand our horizons, set new goals, formulate strategies on how to reach those goals for ourselves and for others. If that 3 becomes very contractive, which it doesn't often do in this position, but I just have a feeling that I need to warn you about this, then it can become contractive, and then you can want to try and force your ideas on others. So remember, 3 is about expansiveness and contraction, and we want to focus on the expansiveness and the inclusivity as opposed to my way or the highway today. So that's the hero today. The villain today is a 7. So when we have 7 in the villain position, then we are frightened of losing face. We become extremely introverted. We become very introspective. We could start thinking that the world is just in such a mess that there's no way that we can ever actually sort it out, and that we can't make a difference. And so we introvert more, and we withdraw more into ourselves. And that's when we become scared that if we offer our gifts to the world, we're going to be rejected, and we're actually going to be laughed at. And as a result of that, we keep our goals small. So we start stifling that creativity, that fertility, that magnificence that we can access. We start stifling it if we've got 7 in the villain position. So please bear that in mind. 7 in the villain position is scared of putting themselves out there because they're going to be laughed at, or they're going to look stupid, or they're essentially going to be rejected. So remember that you have gifts that are unique to you, and you are an essential thread in this tapestry of life. And every thread matters, no matter the color or the texture. It has to be there in order for the tapestry to be complete. So 3 in the hero helps us to take the calculated risk. And you know what? There are always going to be people who are accepting of you, and there are always going to be people who reject you. And that's how it works. It's a dualistic universe. So when you accept that, it helps you to overcome your fear. It doesn't get rid of your fear. It just helps you step outside of that fear of actually losing face, or having egg on your face, or people thinking that you're stupid or not good enough. So we can harmonize Safety Interlock number 13 in 2 ways. You can either hold your upper arm. So if you just wrap your hands around the middle of your upper arm on both sides, then you're holding Safety Interlock number, it's the high 19 actually, which helps to open 30, and it helps to open its counterpart 10, which is on the back. And 10 is the warehouse of abundance. It basically opens this whole chest area. It helps us to unburden ourselves. It opens our hearts towards ourselves and towards others. It clears any issues that you may have in the chest or the breast area. You can also, of course, hold your middle finger, because your middle finger is where Safety Interlock number 13 is located. Let me just check. Yes, it is located on your middle finger. And your middle finger, as I told you yesterday, harmonizes the liver and gallbladder organ function energy. It helps to harmonize anger and resentment and frustration and guilt. And the liver and the gallbladder, the tissue that they govern is the blood. And the blood transports the life essence to every single cell. So the blood brings the light energy of the spirit to the entire body. And that truly helps us to connect with that fertility that resides within us. So holding the middle finger can help us to harmonize Safety Interlock number 13 and truly connect to that love that we have for our enemies, especially ourselves. I hope you have an amazing Wednesday, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow.